Hello everyone. Today we'll begin with chapter number 2, fractions and decimals. It's a very interesting chapter and we have been doing it since our grade 5. So let us proceed. Here in this class, what all we will be covering under this chapter, we'll see how well you have learnt about the fractions, that is the recall from the previous grades, then multiplication of fractions, also we'll go with the division of fractions, then we also have decimal numbers and we'll cover the multiplication of decimal numbers and division of decimal numbers also. So let us proceed now. Now let us begin with what are fractions and what you have learned from the previous grades. So here we know what are the proper fractions. Proper fractions are the fraction in which the numerator is less than the denominator. That means a proper fraction will be less than 1. For example, if we see, we have 3 over 6, 7 over 9, 5 over 7. In all these fractions, we have the numerator smaller than the denominator, like 3 is smaller than 6, 7 is less than 9 and 5 is less than 7. So we see these are the examples of proper fraction and all these fractions will be smaller than 1. Remember this thing, a proper fraction will be always less than 1. The next type of fraction that we know is improper fraction. So it's just the opposite of proper fraction. A fraction in which the numerator is greater than the denominator, then it is called as an improper fraction. And right, that the improper fraction will be greater than 1 always. For example, if we see 6 over 5, 9 over 7, 8 over 5. In all these examples, we have the numerator greater than the denominator. So, they all are the examples of improper fraction. And when you divide 6 by 5, you'll get a whole number and a proper fraction. But this concept will deal in mixed fraction. Now, the next type of fraction is unit fractions. Again a very simple one. A fraction which has 1 as the numerator. They are called as unit fractions. Like if we say 1 upon 2, 1 over 5, 1 over 6. They all are the examples of unit fractions. Now what do you understand by a fraction in this case if I say? It shows that 1 is divided into 2 parts. Then each part is called as 1 over 2. If 1 is divided in 5 parts, then each part is called as 1 over 5 and same with 1 over 6. So, again you can relate in this part with a proper fraction. They are all the examples of proper fraction also. But especially if we say in a proper fraction, the numerator is 1, then it becomes a unit fraction. Again, it will also be smaller than 1. The next type of fraction is like fractions. Now again, this is a new thing for you as well. And we say 2 or more fractions with the same denominators are called as like fractions. For example, if we take the 2 over 10, 7 over 10, 13 over 10. Now here, we can say they all are like fractions because we have the same denominator 10 in all these fractions. We can have many more like fractions with the same denominator as 10 here. Similarly, we can also see one more thing, that 2 over 10 is a proper fraction. 7 over 10 is again a proper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. But 13 over 10, here the numerator is greater. So, this is an improper fraction. So, it may be a mixed bag in which we can find the like fractions. That means we can say it may be a proper fraction or it may be an improper fraction. And now, what if the denominators are not same? Then yes, you are right. We'll call them as unlike fractions. That means 2 or more fractions with the different denominators are called unlike fractions. For example, if we take 2 over 5, 4 over 7, 4 over 3, they all are unlike fractions. Again, this is a mixed bag in which it can be a proper fraction or an improper fraction. They may be like fractions or unlike fractions according to their denominators. We have to check the denominators to find whether the fraction is like or unlike. Now, the next is a mixed fraction. What is a mixed fraction? A mixed fraction is just an improper fraction basically, but if we can write it as a sum of a whole number and a proper fraction. A very important concept and a very easy one to understand here. Like, for example, if I take the improper fraction as 7 over 4, then you know, if we divide 7 by 4, then how can we write it? We can write here as 7 divided by 4 will give you the quotient as 1s are 4, and when we subtract we get 3. So here we are actually dividing 7 by 4. And what are we getting? We used to first of all write it in a form where we write the quotient part first, then we write the remainder part, and then we write the divisor. And you are very well familiar, because you have done it in your junior classes as well, that this is the quotient part. This is the divisor, and we represent it by small d generally. And this is the remainder. So what about this 7? This 7 is called as the dividend, right? And it is represented by capital D here. So if I write 7 upon 4 as a mixed fraction, then how will I write? I'll write it as first the quotient, that is 1, then the remainder, that is 3, and then comes the divisor, that is the number 4. So one whole number, 3 over 4. Now, what do you mean by this? That it is written as a sum of a whole number and a proper fraction? Just see here, if I have written 7 over 4 as one whole number 3 over 4, then I can also write it as 7 over 4 as 1 plus 3 over 4. It is just same. If I am adding any whole number and a fraction, I can write it as a mixed number, right? And the thorough part of it we'll deal in our next segments here. So let us move on to the next segment.